Hello, dreamers. Welcome to the podcast Aligned by M&M. We are here today to dive in on a topic that is very top of mind for us right now. It's all about how to show up and do your work in the world when your life feels incredibly busy. We call it something else. We'll reveal in a minute. But when your life feels incredibly busy, you feel like you have no time, and how to show up for everything that you have going on from a mentally healthy place. So not just completely burning out and overworking yourself, but still being able to do all the things in your very full life with the right mental space, with the right physical embodiment and the mind body soul connection that really allows you to reach your next level and expand your capacity beyond what you could imagine, instead of completely succumbing and crumbling to the overwhelms and the pressure and the to-do lists and the family life and the friend commitments and all the things that can add up and make you feel like you just need to lay down and take a nap. So we're going to dive into that.
Yes.
We both currently right now are at a place where this is very relevant for us. We feel I'm not going to say at capacity because there's always time to expand to do more. But our lives are very, very full right now in this moment. So this feels like a very fitting topic for us to talk about right now. And we will dive in. So I've got Emily Saylor here today, the other M to my M.
Hey guys. Yes.
And I just want to talk about her life real quick because it is wild. She is my inspiration for when I feel overwhelmed because I just think about
Oh,
her and all the things that she does in her life. And I think, I got this. If she can do that, I can do it. And I've got this. So I'm just going to name off some things that Emily is currently involved in. So Emily is the art director at her full-time job. So she is a leader in a, I don't know, high-paying position at her full-time job. She is the co-owner to our agency together, Dream Agency, which has completely been popping off. We have been onboarding and on-ramping and gaining so much momentum lately, specifically in these last couple weeks. We brought on a client and we're doing a very quick 2-month campaign promoting a very high-end event. So there's been a lot of details and pressure put on by the client, which we'll talk about how we navigate that. But it's just been very fast-paced, a lot of work up front, just pretty much something we would do in a much longer timeline crammed into 2 months. So that's been a lot. And then Emily is also a mom to a beautiful family and a sweet baby boy, Benny, who is like truly one of the cutest little boys ever. So she has her hands full with that. And then Emily is also expecting another baby girl. So she's not only doing all of this, she is doing it while pregnant. So as you can see, she is the inspiration for me, and I'm sure so many people in her world, to just kind of be able to do it all. So Em, how does it feel to hear all that? And I know you also have so much other stuff going on. She's also an artist, and I think was recently commissioned to do a mural. So that's a side project. I imagine the list continues, but that's the main stuff. So
I feel like the other big thing. Okay, so first of all, boy, Random, good job. You're amazing to remember and know all these things. Thank you. And thank you so much for the kind words. And I think that, oh gosh, where do I even start? But I'm gushing. My heart's beating a little bit because it's so sweet. And it is wild to hear all of those things reflected back, for sure. The other big thing, I think, in my world that is huge is we also, my husband and I have
your farm.
a
Oh, yeah.
farm. And so fall season is very busy on the farm as well. So there's
Oh my
that
God. I
also.
feel our listener is just like stressed out.
I should note though, so this, I feel like this is probably very relevant. A super side note, but important to note. we're all designed very differently. I'm a manifesting generator in human design. If you haven't heard about that before, check it out. I thrive when there's lots of things. I'm a multi-passionate soul. That's how my energy thrives. So I feel like that's worth noting because not all people, lots of people would be incredibly stressed and overwhelmed at the thought of all that. Whereas, like, for me, it's exciting, but it has taken some work to get to that point for sure. And I
So,
think, oh
yeah,
gosh, what
how do
did
you do it all?
okay, so how do I do it all? Love this question because I don't do it all at once is the main thing. And you and I were talking about this. It's so huge to remember, especially when you're hearing that long list, right? Like it's like, oh my God, like, is that even physically possible? And it's like, yes, absolutely, because moment to moment to moment, we're focusing on different things in our lives. And like every person is that way. Like it's all relative, right? And while, yes, I have many big things that I'm contributing to and involved in and managing, it's still moment to moment to moment. And there's so much that happens behind the scenes that I don't physically touch and do, right? And so I think that that's a really huge call out is that how do you do all the things? You don't do them all at once.
Yes, that feels like such
Yeah.
a secret sauce to life. And it's true. And a
Yeah.
big theme of what we'll talk about here today is something we say all the time, which is flow requires focus. And for Emily and I, living
Mhm.
in our own unique flow is really a lot of what it's all about. And so to get into that flow, it's like Emily's saying, you have to focus. You have to focus on the thing that you're focusing on and take it one step at a time. Because she's right. It
Yeah.
doesn't all just happen overnight. You're not working on all these huge things like every day necessarily, maybe a little bit every day. But
Or like
yeah,
simultaneously,
you're
right?
picking the
Yes.
things and
Yeah.
prioritizing
Yeah,
and
exactly.
getting through each day somehow with ease, joy, and flow. Like I tell you guys,
Yeah.
working with Emily is insane. Like I always think I'm just overwhelming her with the amount of stuff that we need to get done. And then I'll get on a call with Emily and she's just like sparkles in joy and smiling. And I'll be like, Em, are you stressed? Is this too much? And she'll be like, no, this is fine. I'm like, what? So Emily, let us in on how you do this.
Yeah.
Like, what's your
Oh gosh. Okay.
what? Like, I know it's a lot of
Yeah.
energetic practices and spiritual practices as well as physical things. So maybe let's start with kind of the more energetic side of things because we believe that's kind of
Sure.
where everything starts is alignment, aligning,
Yeah.
yourself with what you're choosing to do. So yeah, let us in
Yeah.
on like kind of how the energy behind this starts.
Okay, cool. So there's two ways I could take this. I'm gonna ask you. Should I go like the trust and see it's where the magic happens route, or should I go the
I
rituals
think
route?
both. They're both involved.
Okay. Okay, so let's start with rituals. So, super huge that I start every day. I give myself minimum 30 minutes to ground and connect. Like, that is a requirement for each day. Side note, if it doesn't happen, for example, this morning
Me
I
too.
slept in, which I'm like, okay, my body obviously needed that. So, I'm just going to take it. I still get to have an absolutely wonderful day. I don't have time for my 30 minutes. That is totally okay. Let today's surprise and delight me and like be greater than I could imagine. So still starting with that intention, but prioritizing, yeah, at least 30 minutes to ground and connect. For me, that looks like I literally put in headphones and listen to white noise and sit in quietness and do my best to
What?
turn off my brain. And that is the best way for me to ground and connect. So, yeah, starting your day on the right foot. And that's what that one looks like for me. And then the other big ritual I have is setting boundaries for family time. Like when I go to pick up Bennett at the end of the day, I'm signing off and I am fully submersed and focused in my family time. And everything else is going to be okay while I am with my family. And because I have taken that approach, the time with my family is actually part of my like regenerative, restorative, like healing, filling my cup time, which is a wonderful, wonderful shift, because I think that it can, and it could be where I'm at in my life, you know, but that is my perspective for that time, is that it gets to be, yeah, filling my cup time. And lots of times it's like playing with Bennett, right? So my brain is, it's in, you know, fun
Yeah.
mode. It's not in or like, you know, having fun cooking dinner, listening to music, whatever that looks like. So, yeah, having those hard boundaries though, huge. Having those rituals, huge. Like that really contributes to the ease and flow. And then the other route, so those are probably more of the like physical things that I practice, right? The energetic things, something that's so huge, and why I can show up on a call, hear all the things and not be stressed, is because I have immense trust. I have an
Yeah.
insane amount of trust. I have trust in myself. I have trust in the universe. I have trust that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. I have trust that what has been, you know, assigned to me for the day, that it will happen exactly how it's meant to, and that I have the capacity to do it, and the universe will support me in doing it, because I believe that all of the tasks that I contribute to are aligned for me. And so everything is, you know, working in my favor, working for me, working with me. That is the biggest thing that has taken me
Yeah.
years to build, for sure. But that's the biggest thing that carries me forward in life, stress and worry free, for sure,
I
without
love
a doubt.
that. Wait,
The
take a
other
moment on
thing, oh,
that.
sorry.
I have just like full
Yeah.
body chills. I love when Emily just like gives me insight into her thoughts and beliefs and perspective, because it's truly just the most magical and pure. And I'm always like,
You're so full of
I am so
the most
full of love for
sweetest
Emily,
words.
like truly, because I watch this in action. You know, like this campaign could easily be kicking our butt. And, you know, there's many times throughout the day where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, do I regret this? Or can we do this? You know? And Emily, I swear, like, of course, you're not perfect, but anytime I check
No.
in,
God.
anytime I check in with Emily, like, she just reminds me of everything she just said, which is trust. Like, the universe has got our back. We would not be here if we were not meant to be here. You know, like, we trust our team, we trust our clients, we trust our work in the world, we
Mhm.
trust ourselves. And that is huge. And it like cannot be emphasized enough, because it's such a core part of like most of our success, I would say, is and being able to
Mhm.
trust each other
Mhm.
too, you know? I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes I get really nervous that Emily's not going to have time to do the things that we need to get done in a day. And then we also do this. I'll leave room for her to surprise me, as she actually taught me.
Yeah.
And she does. And oh my gosh, like the other night, she stayed up until 2 a.m. getting some designs out, which is not ever going to be part of our business model. But it's like I just had to trust, even when I was signing off, you know, at a later hour than usual. I just had to trust, like, Emily knows
Yeah.
what is required, and I have to trust that she's going to get it to me. And she did. And that same trust, you know, she gives to her team when she's leading. And so it's really across the board, like giving and receiving a deep amount of trust, both with your people and spiritually, you know. And I think that really does get us through so much stress and overwhelm and worry. So yeah, just wanted to highlight that. Next point.
Thank you, Em. Well, I love that you called out, you know, me staying up until 2 a.m. because I previously had set like really hard boundaries, like
Yeah.
sleep is so important. And I heard there's a woman I listened to, Regan Hillier. Oh gosh, I'm not pronouncing her name right. But anyways, she had said how like she's a very graceful person, I would say, does so much, but is very graceful and easeful and flow,
Yeah.
like very much our vibe. And she said, like, sometimes I'll pull an all-nighter, but it's because I'm in
Yes.
alignment. And like, I could not, and I was like, 100%. When it's in alignment, you shouldn't have expectations about, you know, oh,
Right.
I need to have this. Like I said about me not meditating this morning. Like, I didn't meditate this morning, but that was okay because I trusted it was in alignment for me to
Yes.
get sleep instead, right? And so, I was happy to stay up until 2 a.m. I wasn't exhausted the next day because it was done from a place of alignment. And like, I have noticed that I have had this like, I've been in a really actually, like a really magical state, I would say. I wasn't there last week, made it there this week. After a nap and a really good meditation
Yeah.
on the weekend, I have like found myself in this place where I'm like changing my perspective on the situation. So one thing that Emily and I do all the time is we're not busy. Our
Yes.
lives are full. So like that's a change in our perspective, right? It's not that our lives are busy because that implies chaos and stress and pressure. Our lives are full, which to me is like fulfillment. Like, yeah, really positive, high energy, high vibe
Yeah.
energy. And so the same thing with how I'm viewing this really full time in our business, in my day job right now is also very full. Like fall is a very full time. How I can approach it from a magical, easeful, appreciative state where I'm like, actually, I really love this is because I've experienced times like this in the past where this
Yeah.
is where the magic happens. And this is something that Emily and I were speaking to as well. During these fuller times, there's no room for self doubt. There's no room for overthinking. There's no room for, yeah, like doing busy work or like trying to prove yourself work. It's really about doing the alignment work.
Yes.
What's aligned, what is a priority? And when you're doing that sort of work, like that's when magic happens. That's when what you're creating is so much better than what you could create kind of like in the lulls,
Totally.
when when you're like really thinking about and you're like too stuck in your head and stuff. So,
100%.
yeah, so I think that that's really helpful for these busy times as well as your perspective and like appreciating it, like being like, "Okay, can this be amazing?" You know?
Yes.
Could I love
Yes.
this?
100%. I love all the points you just made. I think one that we really are almost like, I'm not going to say strict, but a little bit like disciplined about is our word choice,
Mhm,
because we know that
mhm,
that can really be such a powerful shift in perspective. And so, like Emily was saying, if we ever catch ourselves saying, I'm busy or I have no time, we like cross that off and we change that immediately because it helps to change the way you're approaching everything. And you're so
mhm.
right. Like, once you kind of shift that perspective, you get in this like aligned magical flow, which I feel we're both in right now. And you're also so right
Agreed.
with like, this is where the magic happens. And to me, it's where the momentum is being built to catapult us into whatever is next. And so
Mm,
all of this work that we're doing, something I wrote out the other day just to help me shift is busy/overwhelmed arrow. That's getting shifted into full thriving, and I am
mhm.
consistently taking aligned steps to get to where I want to be.
Yes.
And doesn't that feel so much
Yes.
better? And I
Yes.
agree with like the all-nighters, right? Like when you feel so passionate and purposeful, time is not an issue. Like time goes out the
Yeah.
window because your heart is on fire, your soul is on fire, and you're like, I don't really care what I've got to do this. It's going to happen. And I love that I get to be the one to make this happen. And I've been feeling that too. Like I've definitely been working over hours and past my boundaries. But boundaries are meant to be flexible. And right now I'm allowing them to be very flexible because this feels like aligned on purpose work that is leading us to this like amazing oasis of just what we've always dreamed. Like the client that we've brought on, I do feel like is a portal into our biggest, wildest dreams, in lots of ways, more than
Mhm,
just having dreamy
mhm.
clients, but it's the work we get to do. We are under an NDA, so we can't share too much about it, which is a bummer because it's so epic. But I've been feeling that too. And it's like, are you approaching it from a
Mhm.
place of resistance and loathing it because you're working late night? Or is it like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is a client I get to participate in. and contribute to
Mhm.
this epic campaign that's doing so much good in the world, of course I'll stay
Mhm.
up.
Mhm.
Sounds kind of fun. Like I haven't done that in a while. Sounds like me time. I can like light a candle, eat some late night snacks. Like I don't know. And really focus. So
Totally.
I love all of that.
It's
And
very, very, very
I think it kind of leads into our next kind of helpful theme of how to manage all of the things in your life is zooming out and really like finding
Mhm.
that way to remember that this is not everything. This is not your whole world. This is not it, like this is a part of it. This is a part of your world. And this is a part of the work you do. But when you zoom out, you can say, oh my gosh, this is such a beautiful piece to my puzzle, but it is not the whole puzzle. And I think that
Mm.
that is what really helps me get through my days is remembering there's always a grander plan. There's always a zoomed out perspective.
Mhm.
And even if it feels like you're really in it, just zoom out, and there's different things you can do. The ones I do, my favorite is dancing. I love to just break out in random dance throughout the day. It just like breaks that like really serious
I
feeling.
love that so
And
much.
I'll
Yeah.
just
And it's so funny because we've been on calls and you have totally done that, and
you get
now
it.
I understand.
Yes, and I will say that's the best part about working with friends. I did the campaign we're working on, we get to work with our friends, which is amazing. And we had a call the other day, and the first like 30 seconds, I was just like doing this crazy dance while they were talking. I'm like, no one seems to mind. And I also don't
It's just
know.
we just take it
That's
as
just me.
amusement.
But really what's happening is I'm really stressed and I need to like have some comic relief. And when you work with
Yeah.
friends, you get to do weird stuff on Zoom calls that you can't really do in front of clients maybe, but yeah, so one of mine is like I'll just break out in random dance, breath. Emily and I are both big on breath work.
Mm.
I do breath work in the morning, but before every podcast call, Emily and I do a centering breath to just align us, connect us with each other, and just kind of ground and let our thoughts be free. So breath work is so helpful. And we can even link some really great breath work like tutorials in the show notes.
Mm.
But another one for me is hanging out with friends. If I go too long without hanging out with friends, it's not going to work for me. I've then realized that I've put too much prioritization in work, and yeah, that's just a piece of the puzzle. And another beautiful piece of my puzzle is my amazing friends and friendships I've created, which is very parallel to Emily and her family time. I think that's so
Totally.
huge. You
Yeah.
have to find things that where you just show up and your brain switches. You don't have that room to
Yeah.
think about work. Because if I go a really crazy work day and then I'm just kind of doing nothing at home, sometimes that works for me. Sometimes it does not work for me because I'm just wanting to get back on my
Mhm.
computer and you can't turn the brain off.
Totally.
So I think, being a mom and with family, that's such an easy thing. You go pick up Benny and immediately you're a mom and you're having
Yeah.
fun and it's playtime. If you don't have a family, I think friends is a really great way, and scheduling things at like 6 o'clock so that you immediately go and you're back to like a different version of yourself. You're not just staying in that work
Mhm.
mode, and you
Mhm.
remember, oh, hey, I have a great, beautiful life and I get to live it. I get to live it, not
Mhm.
just work about it all the time.
Yes. Yes, that's amazing. I think that gives the work space
A
to breathe
hundred
too,
percent.
you know? It's like taking that time away from work gives the work space to breathe. And I feel like that leads into another one of our points that we had with an awesome example, which was that sometimes not everything needs to be said, or like sometimes you don't have to be the one to say and do everything, right? I think that as leaders, sometimes you can feel like a lot of responsibility to like make sure everyone's, super aligned and like has all the things, has everything that they need, and which I think is an amazing quality to have as a leader, that you know, are the dominant vibration, I like to say, and, ensuring everybody's aligned and on the same page and clear and has what they need. But sometimes it's okay to take a step back. And yes, another saying we always say is like, let people surprise you, because I think that in a team situation, it's so important to always remember the good in people, always remember that, yeah, like that your team is there to do the work and that they have the skills to do the work. And sometimes removing yourself is like the best thing that you can do to give them the space to do the work and to do an amazing job, like better than you could have clarified or defined, right, for them. That's definitely something that every day I have to remind myself of.
Absolutely. And I feel like that comes from the foundation of trust we were talking about. You trust your
Yes,
team. And
exactly.
honestly, if
Yeah,
you hire someone, it's because they can do something that you can't. And so a lot of times as leaders,
exactly.
we'll bring someone in and then we're like, we feel that we need to help them so much to do the thing, which is it's like a fine line. It's next level
It is.
leadership to be, more servant leader and kind and caring, as we talked in our last podcast about leading with love. So that's already
Mhm,
wonderful. But then that can even kind of cross a line into almost like caretaking or like over
mhm.
involving yourself in stuff. And so, yeah, really having the self awareness to know when you need to pull back and when people are ready to go and they just really don't need you. And
Yep,
especially when your life is very full and it's starting
yep,
to feel chaotic, that's my trigger to know I need to delegate and I need to release a lot of what I'm holding. And even just like a little visual I was thinking about this the other day. I have a visual where I have two different ones, but one that I use a lot when I'm overwhelmed is I'll just like step back from my computer or wherever you're at, and I'll just stand there and I visualize myself in the center of all of these like floating bubbles, which are all the things that need to be done. And they all have like these tethers to me. And so it'll be me in the center and then just this massive
mm,
like visual of all the things that you're stressed about and need to be done and you're thinking about are each in their little bubble surrounding you. And you'll notice that like naturally they're going to feel tethered to you because you're controlling it. And what I'll do is I'll just feel really centered. I'll take a big deep breath and I let everything fall to the ground. And it's so powerful because
cool.
it's like the scariest thing ever. It's like the biggest fear, right? When you're in it, you're like, I have to hold all these
Yeah,
things. I have to hold them all. Like, what happens? Like, the
yeah,
worst case is that they all fall to the ground. And so I'll go ahead and beat
right.
myself to that punch. And I'll just let them all fall. And then what happens is I realize I'm still standing there. I'm still safe. I'm still
Mm,
grounded. I'm still me. These things do not
mhm,
define who I am. Even if none of it
mhm,
happens, I'm still going to be Emily Hopper. And it's going to be okay. The world is going to be okay. I'm going to be okay.
mhm,
Everything's going to
mhm,
be okay.
mhm.
And it kind of just shifts my energy into okay, now everything's fallen. What's one thing that I could let rise and just do,
Yeah,
Versus like, oh my
yeah,
God, I've got to
cool.
do a
Yeah,
hundred things right now. It's like, actually, I don't. And
exactly.
it's all going to be okay. What's one thing I could just maybe work on right now? So that's huge for me. And I think it's really just the overall theme of like, how do you release control? And we have a great
Yeah,
example of that
yeah.
happening in the agency. Our producer, Anna, we always give a shout out to Anna on the podcast.
Woo, Anna.
I
We
hope
do.
people don't get sick of this one
She's
day.
amazing.
But Anna's amazing. And she really is probably one of our
Mm,
first hires. Well, she's our second hire, but she's been an incredible part of our team. And really, it's so cool because we truly get to practice what we preach. And so, for example, this week, Anna was trying to schedule mat leave for both other Emily and herself. Emily and her are both pregnant at the same time, which is so cool. Both with girls.
Amazing.
It's so fun. But essentially, Anna kind of knew that Emily and I were really at capacity. It was very hard for us to stretch to handle new things. I was doing my best to always, hear her out and cater to her needs and create systems and processes that we need to help her feel more supported. And that's traditionally like our dynamic, as the leader. But this week, she could just tell that we were at capacity. And I was on this call with her, and we were trying to figure out how we're going to do our podcasts when both her and Emily will be out for 3 months. And so it's already kind of late to be thinking about it because their due date is January, February. So I was already immediately like feeling some pressure. And then Anna came to me with this and I was like, of course, we've got to figure out, your mat leave. Absolutely. But she could just tell my brain was like not able to like really figure out the dates and the planning and what we're going to do and the podcast topics. So we stuck it out. We came up with like half a plan. And then part of the plan was that I then needed to go do a lot of things based on what we talked about, essentially. I needed to communicate it to other Emily. I needed to talk about with our other team member who we're going to have on the podcast. I needed to do like a full communication plan, essentially, along with scheduling things out in our Trello board and really just organizing and being the project manager that I am in our business. But for this particular kind of one-off situation, she could just tell that like I was gonna do my best, but it may or may not happen in the timeline we needed. So
Right.
the next day I kind of come with fresh perspective and I was like, look, I'm at capacity, I have full confidence in you to communicate all these things. Do you feel confident and capable to take everything we talked about and essentially like disseminate it to the team? And she was like, oh yeah, of course. That's like so much relief came off of me for such like a simple, like, oh yeah, I've got it. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been holding this way too tightly. I have been the communicator in our business. I have been the planner, the organizer. But hey, guess what? Leave room for people to surprise you. So is Anna. Anna is so organized. She's so communicative.
Yeah.
She's a great planner. And the next day, and this was going to take me like a week to get to, and I was already supposed to get to it like the week before. And so the next day, Anna comes, she has emailed Emily and I with all the changes happening. She's created a group chat with the teammate we needed to loop in on. That teammate got to be so excited because it felt like such official communication from the podcast team, which was really fun. Anna set up herself and us on Trello, reflecting the 3 months of mat leave and everything we have to get done in these next 3 months. She did it all, you guys. She did everything and better, so much better than what I would have done because I was not in the headspace. I couldn't really creatively think. And she took our like half-baked ideas and turned them into full life ideas. And she chose podcast topics that were like way better than what I came up with. And she trusted herself, which is a huge part of this. She trusted herself to do this. She trusted that we trust her. And it was just trust across the board. And she had everything she needed to just absolutely freaking kill it. And I got to show up and be like,
she did.
Party! I was so happy to do a little dance. I was like, yes, this is why I love Anna. It was so ideal. And it came from that place of trust, allowing people to surprise you. And having the self-awareness of being like, I'm at capacity. This is why I have a team. Let's let people step up because typically people want to. They want to own things. They want to be a part of things. They want more responsibility if it's stuff that they feel aligned about. And then you just let go. And when you let go, that's also when the magic happens because people truly delight and surprise you and they do things better than you can. And that's a huge, like, humbling moment as a leader is like, I'm not the best at everything. I'm not the best at all the things, and That's why we have a team, to be better than me at things so that I can return to my zone of genius and thrive while they're thriving. And then we're all
Yes,
thriving, and you feel like you have a
exactly.
business that is just
Exactly.
absolutely delightful and magical, and it's exciting to show up for.
I love that. I feel like I have a I have a I don't know what you would call it, but
Mhm.
like a saying, or it's like a quote from someone basically saying exactly that, where it's like the best kind of leader like enables everybody to be a leader
Yes,
essentially, and like removes themselves from the position of being a leader,
100%.
you know? Like there's no yeah,
I love that.
anyways, and I think of that often, that it's like you kind of become
Yeah.
irrelevant, and like that's how you know you're
Oh
being
my
a good
gosh,
leader.
yes. And
Yeah.
that's, I mean, going into this as our second business, that is what I am
Yeah.
always doing. I'm always trying to remove myself so that this business can thrive and function on its own. Because ideally, as entrepreneurs, that's also what you want. Like, I want to go
Yeah.
surf. I want to go play.
Right.
So it's like a little self-serving, but it's also empowering, right? It's like empowering everyone to do a better job than you can so that
Yeah.
you can just be there when they need you, really.
And I think it's like what's in
Yeah.
alignment, like so that you can do the actions that are in alignment for you, so
Yeah.
that they can do the because like that what was so apparent from this story you shared, the example you shared with Anna, is that like it was not in alignment for
No,
you to do that. It was 100% in alignment for Anna, and like she could see things that you were not even able
100%.
to see. She
Yeah.
could, you know what I mean, and piece things together that you were, because you were not in alignment, not able to piece together.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like something that we refer to often, like you're like leaning on
Yeah.
everyone's strengths, right? Or like you're, yeah, doing the work that is in alignment for you. And so, yeah, that whole like letting go, releasing control,
Yeah.
trust, like those are all foundational themes, right? For showing up mentally healthy.
Yes. And really, I think the main point of showing up mentally healthy too is being aligned in a business, whether you're working for this business or creating the business,
Mhm.
and knowing that no project, no client, no to-do list is ever more important than your health, mental health,
Yeah,
physical
absolutely.
health, well-being. And for us, if it ever gets to that point, it's like a hard stop. If anyone's ever
Yeah.
truly drowning, it's a hard stop.
Yeah.
I pull them off the project, or if it's between Emily and I,
Yeah.
like,
Same.
we get help in whatever way we need,
Yeah.
and so I think that's just so important, and something that I hope catches on like wildfire in businesses today, where, getting stuff done is fun and great for business. But
Hmm.
if it
Hmm.
ever,
Hmm.
yeah, if it's ever affecting you like deeply in a negative way, it's time to reprioritize and realign, because it is not where you need to be.
And I just always think, I'm like, are you actually serving the project?
Right.
If you're, if you're not mentally healthy and continuing to push, like, are you genuinely serving the project, or like the client, or
Yeah.
the whatever it is, right? The outcome, the results, like not
No,
fully.
no.
Fuck no. And because we are such believers that everything is working out for us, everything's working in our favor, there's like always a better way,
Yes.
right? So if somebody is struggling, then that is not the
No.
best way. What is the better
Right.
way here, right? And but that's like, again, huge exercise in trust. And
Yeah, and also,
yeah.
there's so many layers to that, like being able to speak
Mhm.
up with what you need as an employee, and
Mhm.
also as a leader,
True.
being in tune with your team and knowing, hey, something's not
Yep.
right. Like, let me get curious
Yep.
about it. What do they need? How can I support them? But
I think that is the most important, in my opinion, that's the most important thing as a leader, is that you're checking in. What do you need? How
yes,
can I support you? Like those are like the fundamental
yes,
questions, you know what I mean? And they're the
Yeah.
ones doing the work, and we are there. It's like, "Okay, what do you need from me? How can I make this
Right.
easier for you? How can I, make this more flowy and
Yes.
fun?"
Yes. Yes. And I think that
Yeah.
even happened with you the other night. Like, it was a later night on this campaign, and we had all these ideas to create so much, and then I
Yeah.
felt I felt both myself and you, like, tired.
"Okay,
Yeah.
wait a minute." Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I felt that
Let's
energy, and I
realign
was
here.
like, "That's not how we create. How can we
Yeah.
shift this?" Because this is another
Yeah.
point, is when you have a client who does have a lot of urgency and is
Mhm.
putting a lot of pressure on you, our approach to that is they fit into our flow. Yes, we can make it a more rapid flow, but they fit into our flow. We do not respond to their urgency with urgency. And I think that is so
Love that.
huge because a lot of times clients will come to you and be like, I needed this yesterday. And that's kind of a red flag for me to start. But, you know, you can kind
Yeah.
of communicate
Yeah.
and set boundaries to let them know, look, we're going to do everything we can to get this done, like, with quality at this timeline. We need you to trust us and maybe let us breathe. And there's different ways to
Yeah.
communicate that. It doesn't have to be so direct, but, when they, like, for example, if a client is like, all these things, all these tasks, all these to-dos, something I did recently was, yes, we can absolutely do that. We will get to that next week. Easy,
Yeah.
because that's when it works for us. It's not going to affect the
Yeah.
campaign. That's when we can get to it in a reasonable amount of time versus, like,
Yeah.
and I feel pulled to do this sometimes because I can really feed into that. Like, I'm a fire sign, so I actually really love to do things very quick and fast paced and burn a blaze and then, I don't know, just roar. Like, that's kind of where I thrive. But, like, I felt myself kind of wanting to get into that urgent pace with them. And then I took a step back and was like, what would that really look like? That would look like me taking the pressure they're putting on me and then putting pressure on all of my teammates. And if my team responds to that pressure, then what does that look like for them? Oh, it looks like them having no life outside of this campaign for the next, like,
Mhm.
2
Mhm.
weeks. It means they're working really late. It means they're stressed. They're going to resent me and they're going to burn out. And so if you really, like, play out that pressure, it's like you're not going to get the
Mhm.
results you
Mhm.
want. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
we love to fit clients into our flow because we trust our flow and we know it's
Yeah.
going to create
Yeah.
great things. So, yes.
Yes. And that's why I think, like, the other day when you were, like, "Oh, how are you feeling?"
Oh,
Like,
yeah, that's what we're
how,
talking about.
like, "How are you feeling? Like, how are we gonna get this all done? Are
Yeah.
you?" And I was just like, "We got this. Like, we do this all the time. We can totally do this," because that was, like, my way of
My
responding
urgency to
from
my agency.
a place of or whatever, right? Like, I was like that, and that was my way also of, like, giving myself
Yes.
space to do the work. I'm like, "Yeah, like, we got this,
Yes.
this
Yes.
is what we do."
Space and grace. Absolutely. And
Oh,
to
space and grace.
close that example, what ended up happening,
Yes.
I felt Emily and I really connected. So I can just feel, even when, if she's saying, like, and I don't ever think you're, like, lying to me or anything, but I can just I
No.
can just tell sometimes when it's like I'm being positive about this and I'm, like, a little bit tired. And I could
Yeah,
feel
totally.
that. And
Yes.
so for me, I always am just trying to protect, the team and their well-being. And so I went back to another girl on our team and I was like, how do we
Oh,
simplify
yes.
this? Like, let's make it simple. And it worked out that what we were creating for actually needed to be simplified anyway, which then made it more simple for Emily. She
Yes.
didn't have to create as much. So we went from, like, 4 pieces of creative assets for like 10 different influencers, which was a lot. Like we had like a day
That's
to
right.
do.
Yeah.
And we dropped it down
Right.
and it was like 2 pieces of creative assets, one resized to be repurposed. And we just found a creative solution so that everyone could just breathe, you know? So that's part of the
Mhm.
trust too. Like Emily just trusted we'd get it done. And then
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
was in tune and was like, look, we can even make this simpler and get it done
Let's simplify
faster
this.
and
Yes.
everyone feels better.
And the
And the
outcome
outcome
was
was
even
even better because it
better.
worked out for who it was
Yeah.
going to more than our original
Exactly.
idea.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've given them lots of examples, lots of
Mhm.
nuggets for everyone to think about. And, you know, I think a lot of what our podcast is about is just showing people that there's a different way to do things, a more aligned way, a more easeful and joyful way, even in the harder moments. Um, so I really encourage you to like take some of these tidbits and go try them out. And if it works,
Yeah.
amazing, let us know. And if it doesn't, then it's not meant for you. You know, like we're not the end all be all on anything. It's just our experience and the wisdom we have to share that hopefully helps other women and other people live more in alignment with what truly lights them up and what truly, you know, makes their heart feel on fire. So yeah, should we do any final takeaways?
So I have one tip, and I may have shared this previously, but it's so relevant to this topic, which I really feel is like how to show up mentally healthy and
Yeah.
overwhelmed, you know? And this is great for if you're in a space of overwhelm. So what I do is I fold a piece of paper in half. And on one side, I write 3 things for me to do. And on the other side, I write universe to do. And I list all of the things, everything else that's in my brain that I can't get to, right? And allow the universe to surprise me and delight me. And what's great about this exercise is one, it immediately helps with overwhelm because all of a sudden now you only have 3 things to focus on for your day. 2, it builds your trust muscle because when you give things over to the universe and then they get done magically without you touching them, it's like, holy shit, like I don't have to do
Yes.
everything. Like there's, greater forces at play here. There's like so many people in this world that are, here to help and support or what, we're all creating this together. So, yeah, so that's my number one tip. I share it with
Yeah.
everyone and
It's
it
so
is so
helpful.
helpful.
Even just the writing everything out piece of that is so helpful
Yeah,
because I think overwhelm is often very much in your mind. And so if you can just get it out on paper to free up that mental space, it's so helpful. And then taking it to
absolutely.
the next step of like letting this go. We're just going to trust that it gets done. I love that. I do that as
That's
well.
right.
Emily taught me that one. I would say my tip, we've already talked about it. Having like time for yourself in the morning, I think is so vital. So, what Emily shared about grounding, even if it's 10 minutes, like a 10-minute meditation sometimes but I am pretty committed to a full hour of morning routine and it has lots of different things for me in it. But I also don't have children and I work from home. So, it's a bit easier for me. But even if you can just do 10 minutes of like right when you wake up, you can sit up and set a timer and it doesn't have to be like meditating on anything. It's really just the silence and just allowing yourself that space and grace and silence to connect with yourself before you give yourself to so many people throughout the day. So that would be one
Love
tip.
it.
The second tip we've already touched on as well, but it is so huge in my life, breath work. Breath work, I really fully believe, is what allows you to get to the next level with so much more ease because it's getting out of your head and into your body, which is typically when we're overwhelmed, we're so in our head and we can't get out. And
Mhm.
so, things like even just working out is great, anything where your body is in use. But when you're at your desk or like if you're working throughout the day, you can find easy, like 5-minute breath work meditations where you're literally doing a guided breath. It might be like a circle breath, like in 4, out 4. The one Emily and I do before every podcast relaxes your vagus nerve, which is in 5, hold 3, out 8. And that just really grounds me and centers me. But
Mm.
there's breath work you can do to help with overwhelm, and it helps you truly like expand your capacity from a body perspective, not just mentally. So if you do this in the morning, you'll go throughout your day and you'll be like, oh, wow, this new task just came in and it didn't overwhelm me. How wild. And then you can kind of attribute it back to the breathwork practice you did. But this is what I do when I'm really in it. If I really feel like I'm about to crumble, I will pull myself away and just center with my breath. And then you can come back and life just feels so different. So yeah, that's all I've got.
Amazing. So good. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Please share with anyone who might be dealing with some overwhelm. And yeah, can't wait for next time.
We'll talk to you next podcast. Hope you tune in.
Thank you so much, dreamers, for tapping in, turning on, and leveling up with us today. May you always remember your true worth, find alignment in every day, and live your dreamiest life. That is our biggest dream for you. You can find us on our website at dreamagency.biz, socials at dreamagencybiz, or email us at emily@dreamagency.biz. Make sure to subscribe, follow, share with those you love, and reach out. We can't wait to connect with you.